Hello everyone, welcome back to the update 1.79 dev server, and now we're going to look at the new rank 6 French AMX-40. It is a battle rating 9.0, and what a lot of people will be happy about is that it actually comes after the Surbassé, so it doesn't come after the Brennus. So we are getting a little bit of, variety in which tree to go down, because if they put this here, it just would be annoying as hell, to be quite honest. So instead, it's after the Surbassé, which is nice to see. The AMX-40, if we have a look at it and compare it to something like the Brennus, it is incredibly similar. There are a few upgrades though. The gun itself, the 120mm GS CN120-25 G1 cannon, is one of those upgrades, and also it gets a little bit of upgrade on its armor, where it becomes composite instead of just extra ERA. So on the front of it, you have 250 by 300 composite armor, which at 9.0 is not really going to stop anything. I mean, if we just compare it to the new vehicle, the XM1, which has just been released, or about to be released on live as a premium, you're looking at 360mm of penetration. So yeah, 250 ain't gonna do you much. And then on the turret you have 300, so that's a little bit better, but still a bit of a struggle for this machine. What is also kind of interesting is that it is modeled back this way, but I've got a feeling that this armor here is not going to be the same as this armor here, just because of how it looks like where it's modeled. You see what I mean? Where this is going to be some extra thickness, and then the rolled homogeneous behind, as it says, is going to be 35. So yeah, if you shoot it like here, it's going to go straight through. Overall, if we look at the other parts of the armor, you're looking at 50mm, 50, 25, 50. You're not looking at a lot. This is not a machine that can soak around, but to be honest, at this level of battle rating 9.0, you don't really get many machines which can. It does have a rack in the back with some RHA there. We did not test if this thing has blowout doors. We should have done actually, but we will do in when we do our full review on all of the armor and the guns on all of these machines. But overall, what we're looking at is a machine which doesn't have a lot of armor, has a better gun than the rest of the French tree, and which is also replicated in the ammo. So the ammo is very similar to the Type 90s. You start off, and also the Leopard 2A4s, you start off with Heat FS, and then you get the APF SDS as a rank 1 modification. Now at 9.0, 385mm is not as good as some of the other rounds out there, but it's still good enough to be able to puncture holes in the majority of stuff you will find. If you get up-tiered to stuff like, a 9.7 level, you still should be able to go through everything, apart from the Abrams in certain parts of it, and also the Leopard with its 390mm in front of the loader, but the Type 90 shouldn't be an issue unless you're over 500 meters. So overall, it's an okay round. It's slightly worse than the XM one, but that is unfortunate, but it is how it is. It starts off with a Heat FS round with 600mm of penetration, which is pretty standard. Some has 650 like the Type 90, but 600 is good. It's a good D4 round to have at 9.0. You'll be able to smash pretty much everything you face. Has a slightly lower muzzle velocity than you'll find on other Heat FS rounds, which may be a little bit jarring for people, so you've got to watch out for that. But the 1650 meters per second on the OFL 120 G1 is a nice change. It's going to be an incredibly quick round, perfect for the larger maps. It also gets access to smoke grenades, but if we're going to talk about the modifications of this thing and what to actually grind on it, then first of all, I think the APF SDS, then parts, FPE, adjustment of fire, elevation mechanism, smoke grenade, and then these two, and then laser finder, then everything else as it comes. The mobility of this machine is decent, but it's not as good as other vehicles that you will come up with. Its engine is slightly weaker, it has a good top speed, but it has slightly worse acceleration, but overall it is just slightly worse than some of its competitors, meaning that it is still competitive, just not the best at its tier. It is armed with the 20mm though, the coaxial, which everybody loves, with the AMX-40 and the AMX-30 series of tanks. And may I just say, it's nice to see the AMX-40 in game. You basically have three options with the French when it comes to later stuff than the AMX-30. You have the 32, the 40, and the Leclerc. So it's lovely to see the middle ground and not just go straight for the Leclerc, which would be bastardized, kind of like how a lot of people see the Leopard 2A4 right now. There's also some RHA here, so it will stop the engine when it explodes attacking the crew or anything like that. And it's your typical 4-man crew, loader on the right, gunner, commander, and also the driver. The difference here is, if you can see this side of the vehicle, you should shoot the hull. Take out the ammunition, blow the thing up. If you can't, just shoot right here. You'll go straight through with anything over 300 millimeters of penetration, or 330 chemical. Take out 2 of the crew, and then maybe you hit the ammunition in the back, taking that out too. It does have a massive breach though on this thing, especially if you add in the coaxial. So sometimes you'll penetrate this and it'll get eaten by the breach. But you're just going to have to get used to that. There's not really any point in ever shooting the loader on that side, just because there's so many little things that can get in the way. Much better just to shoot here. And also, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be here or not, but it's basically where this is. This big chunk. Which is either some optical port or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it puts a big ass hole in the composite armor. So if you can shoot there, get it to spall, that's 2 crew dead, and probably your ammunition igniting at the same time. As you can see, it's set in some drums, so you have a square of 4 here, then you have 3 drums of 5, so 15, and then 19 in your second, or, well, it looks like it's your ready rack, which is kind of cool. 8.2 second reload on this 120mm is completely fine at battle rating 9.0 because of the stabilizer. You can get it down to 6.7, so it's not as good as some other vehicles that you may see, but overall I think it's fine personally. So let's get it into the test drive and have a look at it. So yeah, the first main thing that the French have been missing for a long time is the fact that this thing has a stabilizer. Now, the stabilizer is pretty good on it. It is a stabilizer which will be able to be similar to the XMs, to the Type 90s, where at speed, you're going to be able to keep it up. It also has very good turret rotation, the 20mm and also the 7.62 on top. And we'll just get up to speed to show you about it. So, as I said, acceleration is slightly worse than other things you'll see, but it's still okay. Gets up to 40 without any real issues. The gun itself looks incredibly large compared to the rest of the tank, something that seems to be very characteristic with a lot of the French vehicles. But let's go here. Good night, sweet prince. We'll just set him on fire. This sound is very similar to the Type 90s sound, and the Type 90s to me sounds like a Piat gun. Yeah, I'll fire it and show you. Like, it sounds like a... Like, I understand that as we went along in tank design, guns started sounding like this, but for me, it just sounds like a Piat. Like, when you're in the turret, it sounds okay, but when you do it outside, it sounds like it's spring-loaded. But yeah, you can see, we're at 50 now. The stabilizer is working perfectly. It's working exactly the same as all of the other vehicles that we've shown at these higher tiers. No hydro-pneumatic suspension, which is a shame. It does have dual drive, though. So what you're getting out of this machine is maybe not an increase in mobility over the other French vehicles, but you are definitely getting an increase in aggression with the form of the stabilizer. On top of this, with the 1650 meters per second round from the APF SDS, you're looking at a round which is going to be great over distances. You just have to worry slightly about the armor penetration, which is a little bit worse than some of your compatriots, but should still be good enough as long as you aim for weak spots. It may struggle at the 9.7 brackets, which it may find itself quite a lot, but hopefully not. Overall, it is nice to see another French top-tier tank. I know a lot of people were not happy with the Brennus. They were not happy with the premium, which was the AMX-30 variant with the different gun on top, but I personally like those things. I thought they were cool vehicles, even if they weren't meta, but now French people who play France will definitely get what they would class as a competitive MBT at 9.0. And yes, I'm looking at you, Winterslal, with this in mind. It's a wonderful tank, it's a beautiful tank, it's something that hopefully we see more of and will give people a reason to grind out the French tree. I'll see you next time.